traditional project management, or the way that it's executed, maybe not the way that it's intended, tend to align with our project management practices, right? So we have a project, we're going through the project and the execution. At the end, we'll tag on some change management. We'll do a communication plan, we'll tell people about it, we'll put some posters up, and that's what people call organizational change management, right? And then they hand off to the business owners and say, congratulations, you have this beautiful new solution.
Right.
And that's really not what change management is. That's basically just project closure. What organizational change management really means is we are starting the organizational change before the project is even approved, before we even know whether we're going to go through with the transformation. It's starting with understanding what are the outcomes we're going to try to achieve. How is it going to drive value? How are we connecting to the core stakeholders? So we really understand why we're doing this. And before we even kickstart, we're winning the hearts and minds. And without commitment at the onset from all of the different stakeholders and users who are going to be impacted by this, we're not going to be able to right-size the investment, the connections throughout, right? And so organizational change management starts way before people traditionally think,
right,
before it's even prioritized as a project. And through that, we're thinking about not only the intake and prioritization of that project, there's elements and activities that you're going to do through your planning, through your implementation, all the way through long-term sustainment of that change.
So let's talk about that piece in a little bit more detail, because if we're starting early and this is not, tacked on to the end, what are the different phases of organizational change management we should be thinking about?
Yeah, for sure. And this changes a little bit based on the size and scale of the project, right?
Sure.
So you can lighten these up or beef them up a little bit more. But what we're really advocating for is there's still 4 core phases in them, but they're all iterative, right? So it's not like we're going to have this big transformation, digital transformation project that we're going to just plan, build, run, sustain at the end of it. It's an ongoing loop of things, right? But where it starts is we start in that planning phase. And in that planning phase, what we are advocating is that you spend more time up front and resource up front the impact analysis, right? And it's not just the impact of do we do this or do we not do this, but what are all the elements of our organization that are gonna be, changed as a result of this? Understanding that, making sure we're quantifying the benefits. And one thing that we really focus on in this new research is, what does successful adoption look like, right? Not just what does successful project completion look like,
right,
but when people have adopted it, how does this change their metrics? How does this help us to achieve our goals? How will we know whether this has been successful through the impact that it's having, right? And so in the planning phase, we're doing all this analysis up front so that we know what we need in order to support the change going forward.
Right. So it's solving the, kind of the long-standing issue of, sure, I put in change management. Oh, look, nobody adopted it, right? Like it's how to make sure we get to that ultimate adoption. Is that fair?
Yeah, exactly. And knowing what that looks like too. Because I think one of the things we're also guilty with when it comes to project management is you submit a project to me and I execute the project as requested. As you know, requirements are typically not so great. Value is clearly not defined. And so IT is getting work requests or project requests without fully having access to the rationale behind that. And so they're building based off half the information.
Right.
And so what this really necessitates is getting that information up front, which allows you to build better and allows you to integrate better all the way through.
Yeah. So, it's interesting, and I'm piecing it all together, but one of the key insights that came out of this was about sustainment, and the sustainment phase being the place where you really get the most value. Talk to me about what comes together there.
Yeah, for sure. And from sustainment, what we're looking at is there's a couple different elements of sustainment, right? We're looking at how you empower your users, how you lead differently through this, how you incentivize the types of behaviors that you're looking for, how you're changing sort of the practices and work of the teams as well, right? And so sustainment is something that I think people thought about at the very end, very, very end, and they handed sustainment off to the business, and they really didn't think about what it meant, right? How do we change the hearts and minds and behaviors of everybody interacting with this, right? So the sustainment phase for me, it's not the end phase, it's actually something you start right after preparation.
Right.
So once you've prepared, now we're thinking about what are the core change moments that matter throughout. How can we prepare people? How can we drive adoption in each of those core change moments that matter?